everybody, I'm Tom Vassell. Welcome to Board Game Breakfast. Okay, well, good news and not so good news. The good news is that this is the week of the Dice Tower Cruise. So we'll be leaving this Thursday and we'll be getting back Monday of next week. Now you think you know where this is heading and you're halfway right, because we're getting back on Monday of next week. Next week's Board Game Breakfast will be delayed until Tuesday. But there's more than that. We're actually not going to be posting any other videos this week. I'm going to be doing a live Q&A today at noon. So hi to those of you who will show up for that. And I look forward to talking to some of you then. And that's pretty much the last video you'll see this week. There might be a live video from Chaz or from Rob as the week goes by. But at some point at the Dice Tower, we need to take a break from the videos that we're putting out. And this is the week we've chosen. Now, don't worry. Even though we're not putting any videos up this week, we will make up for that the rest of the month. You will see videos all the way up through Christmas and the New Year's. In fact, the week next week, when we get back from the cruise, there will be 4 top 10 lists. 4! And so hopefully that makes up for the lack of videos this week. Now, even though we don't have any videos this week, there's an ample opportunity to go back and look at all the different reviews that we've done over the past year. There's been a lot. You've probably missed a few. And there's lots of other things for you to check out, Dice Tower audio podcast, etc. So it's not like there's nothing for you to do there. And there's still the rest of this show to watch. So that being said, let's get to the news. Okay, in board game news this week, Looney Labs is introducing Math Flux, which might be a footnote for many people who don't like Flux, but I'm going to be serious here in the fact that this Math Flux has me very intrigued. I may get this one and review it, and I'll tell you why. Because Math Flux, in Flux, you have the simple thing of, hey, you need to get rules in front of you. Like the description says, you need to get 42, so 4 and a 2 in front of you. But there might be something that has the sum of the numbers in front of you, or different things that are math-oriented to the different goals you need to get in Flux. And that changes the game up into something that I'm hoping is quite intriguing and educational. Steve Jackson has announced some Ogre organized play, so if you like Ogre a lot, stores will probably have that. There'll be, this is with the new 6th edition of Ogre that's coming out. And so if you want to play Ogre against other people for the prize, you'll have it. CMON, I guess that's what they're supposed to be calling Cool Mini or Not now, CMON Limited. This is unusual. This past week, they went public on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange. Now, I don't know all the details of this because I am not actually really that good with stocks and such. Like I said, I know it's a Hong Kong Stock Exchange. Their press release made it sound like they're not putting up enough stock to lose control of the company. They want to get more capital coming in company so they can get more games, as if they didn't get enough games this year. It sure seems like they are gearing up to become the main competitor with Asmodee as the year goes by. Atlas has announced Gloom in Space. Okay, it's another Gloom game, but in the press release, they announced that they had sold 300,000 copies of Gloom thus far, which is a phenomenally huge number if you know anything about number of games that are sold, so that's pretty impressive. WizKids has announced their next 2 Dice Master sets, Guardians of the Galaxy. Well, duh. And if you haven't seen a new Guardians of the Galaxy trailer, it's pretty cool. Tiny Groot is my kid's favorite creature ever, probably. And X-Men First Class, in which they're going to be delving not into different X-Men characters, but they're even going into the What If comics. They're running into the same problem I think Upper Deck is, where it's like, well, we've done all the Marvel characters that are famous, now let's do the less famous ones. Now let's do ones that are so weird even fans don't know what they are. IDW has announced a new game called Mine All Mine. This is a game about dwarves digging in mines. Or Mine All Mines, I guess. It's an interesting title, and the theme is, well, I don't know. The artwork looks great, so we'll see. Yellow has announced Mountains of Madness, designed by Rob Daviau. This is based on a Lovecraft story. It is a full cooperative game. I'm sure people are really frothing at the mouth for this one. Just realize it's in Q4 2017. But hey. Bruno Catala put a picture up on Twitter that showed the new Jamaica expansion. It's called Jamaica the Crew. It looks really cool. Jamaica is a Dice Tower favorite, but a lot of other people enjoy this gateway-style game. Having an expansion for it, hey, line us up. And Space Cowboys did something very similar, where they posted a picture on Facebook of them playing Splendor with the expansion. Okay, Splinter's a pretty basic, simple game. What will an expansion do to it? Well, we'll have to wait and see. And Asmodee announced Carnage. This is from the studio Devil Pig. They're the ones who did the Heroes of Normandy. They were working with Yellow. Obviously, they have now moved over and we're working with Asmodee. And so you can find out more about Carnage at the Devil Pig website. Well, that's all the regular news I have for you folks. It's time to go to the Kickstarter news. Suzanne.
Happy breakfast, everybody. It looks like we're headed into the end of the year slowdown for crowdfunding games, but there's always something interesting to look at, so let's get going. Robots Love Ice Cream is already an app game in the style of a classic arcade shooter. For this card game version, players will travel in their ice cream trucks to different planets and use their special icy treats to destroy waves of attacking robots. Ice cream trucks can be upgraded as you play, and those robots will fight back. This is a semi-co-op game in which players will have to work together to defeat the robots and save the ice cream, but victory points will determine a final winner. Robots Love Ice Cream has simple, engaging card mechanisms, an adorable theme, ultra cute art, and you can get a copy for just $18 plus shipping. Ether Wars is a game of dice placement and area control. Each player takes on the role of one of the asymmetric races, the humans, Rippers, Vi, or Drakons, and they all have their own abilities. Each round, an event will trigger, players select a skill for the round, and mercenaries with special abilities can be hired. Dice represent your troops, and players take turns placing their troops around the board. Different zones provide different resources, but when two factions try to share a space, a roll-off for territorial rights happens. You have to manage your resources to keep your troops fed and take advantage of different actions, and the first player to collect 5 Ether tokens wins. Ether Wars comes with over 50 custom dice, and a copy of the game takes a pledge of €39 plus shipping. Set in the world of their Mistfall universe, NSKN is bringing us Shadowscape. This is a cooperative dungeon exploration game that plays out on a randomly set up grid each game, extending the game's replay value. Players take actions using skill cards, and there's an interesting mechanism in that when used, a skill card flips, and then that reveals a different ability for future use. Characters will gain skills and equipment to help them, along with fate cards. While this is primarily a card and board game, there is an optional set of character minis to enhance your dungeon adventures. Shadowscape is a relatively quick-playing game and can be played solo as well. You can get a copy of Shadowscape for $34, or for $57, you'll also get a set of those minis. Okay, that's all I've got for you this episode. Hopefully something caught your eye. And until next time, I hope you have a wonderful week.
Hi, welcome to the 101. One of the questions that came up while I was doing a live painting of Conan was, what kind of brushes should I get? Should I get cheaper brushes or more expensive brushes? And I thought this was a pretty good topic to bring up on the 101. First off, if you're a beginning painter, I really suggest going down to a Hobby Lobby or a Michael's or a Joann's or whatever type of art store that you have around you and getting yourself some really kind of cheapo, but not too cheap type of brushes. And there's a reason for this. You can pay $7 or $8 for a really good brush like these Windsors and stuff like that, but you'll find that having these brushes are really important to have, especially when you're learning. Some of them sometimes are flimsy at best, but you know, you have to be able to get a good $7 or $8 set of brushes. The reason being is that when you run into like characters like we worked on this week, when we worked on this snake, all the ridges and the bumps, you really don't want to use your really good brushes on it. As you can see, here's another one that we just started working on. Working the washes in and everything like that can really deteriorate a good brush, and until you get really good at what you're doing and with repetition, it's always good to have the cheaper brushes to go with. Use the fine brushes for detailing. So again, a good pack or a nice cheap of 15 brushes for like $7 is perfect. They're a little bit better quality than if you went and got some really, really cheap bristle brushes for like $2 or $3. But try to get something in the middle, something that you can gain and learn your technique with. So that's it for this week's 101. Until next time, I'm Rob Warren, and we'll see you soon.
Hey there, this is Mike with the Board Game Makeover. If you've watched any of my videos, then you know that I take board games and I give them a makeover by changing out components, artwork, and or theme. Well, today, I'm going to show you a Board Game Cafe makeover. I'm recording this at Zulu's Board Game Cafe in Bothell, Washington. But this Board Game Cafe is extremely unique in the way it has been transformed from a typical office building into an exact or close to exact replica of The Hobbit's Green Dragon Inn. Joining me today is Matt Zaremba, the owner of Zulu's Board Game Cafe. Matt, where did the idea of The Hobbit's Green Dragon Inn as a theme come from?
Okay, I knew I was going to do a game store, spent a couple years doing research, and after we acquired this building, we were looking around trying to search for an idea, and the building has really low ceilings, and so I wanted to incorporate that and kind of use the space that I had, and so we went with the Green Dragon Pub look and feel. This picture is my guiding light. I tried to match the wainscoting, the stone floor, the chandeliers, the oil lamps, parchment paper colored walls, wood beams with sub-beams, wood posts, the rock fireplace with the large wood mantle, rustic wood tails that we built from scratch.
Okay, so you were open for 3 months before something happened. Tell me what happened.
It's the second largest fire in Seattle's history. It was across the street. It took out the entire block, including 22 buildings. But because this is a brand new space and it's my baby, I saw it in my security cameras. So at 3 o'clock in the morning, the fire erupted, and we came running back down here, and we saved the building. The community support after the fire was amazing, and one of the bonuses is the sword behind us was given to me for surviving the fire.
So this sword,
Yeah.
wow, that is an amazing sword.
Yep. They renamed it Zulamir the Unburning.
Well done.
We're the only business on the street, on the entire block that survived the fire.
So you persevered through many trials and obstacles to make your dream of a board game cafe become a reality. This board game cafe is unique and unlike any other I've ever seen. Matt, you've done an amazing job creating a board game cafe that offers a unique experience wrapped around the theme of the Hobbit's Green Dragon Inn. Thanks for joining me today, Matt, and allowing me to show off your board game cafe makeover. And thanks for watching the Board Game Makeover. We'll see you next time.
Okay, well, honestly, there's not a lot to talk about here because, well, just not putting out a lot of videos out this week other than the live Q&A today and maybe a few other live shows. So why am I even doing this section? Well, but that's not it. There's still the Dice Tower Network. If you go to dicetowernetwork.com, you can see all the different podcasts. There's lots of podcasts. Our own podcast will go up this Tuesday, and there's other podcasts that go up throughout the week, so that's pretty exciting. So check them out at dicetowernetwork.com. We'll see you there.
Hello, Chaz Marler from Pair of Dice Paradise here with an announcement for all of you underground rock and pop culture board gaming enthusiasts hanging out by the coin-op kiddie rides down at the mall. Yeah, you guys, put down your Cinnabon and hear this. Hot Topic, your destination for alt culture music, apparel, and accessories, is now carrying board games. Well, to be specific, a board game. And, well, to be accurate, a dice game. This is because back in November, Steve Jackson Games announced that their Batman the Animated Series dice game would be added to the shelves in 48 of the 600 stores operated by the pop culture retail chain. A representative of the company was quoted in an article on the ICV2.com website as saying that the dice game, quote, will fit in nicely among the Joker apparel. Feels a lot like Gotham City. And that's good to hear, even though I'm not sure exactly which item is being compared to the feel of Gotham City in that sentence. Was it their apparel? The dice game? The store itself? Is Hot Topic the mall's Arkham Asylum? That would explain some things. But you know what? That's not important. Instead, think of the marketing possibilities that this opens up for the rest of the nation's mall infrastructure. Forever 21 could carry the DC Comics deck-building games expansion Forever Evil. Wetzel's Pretzels could strike a deal with Bezier Games to revive beer and pretzels. Former mall royalty Radio Shack could use their plethora of empty mall stores to start selling copies of A Throne Vacant. Now selling A Throne Vacant, batteries sold separately. All kidding aside, I can't help but see the Hot Topic deal as a good thing. After all, it means more board games available in more locations to a wider audience. It's not as significant as Target's recent coup of signing 50 games to be sold exclusively in their stores, but it still introduces another potentially new market segment to a modern hobby game that they might not have had access to before. So, what do you think? Would you lope your way all the way into town to the mall to buy the Batman animated series dice game from Hot Topic? And, more importantly, while you're there, would you keep an eye out for a retro vintage Beastie Boys ill communication necktie? Oh, I could really use one of those.
Hello everyone, it's
Lunchtime! Today we're going to be talking about a game called Lotus. Lotus is designed by Jordan and Mandy Goddard, published by Renegade Games, plays ages 8 and up, 2 to 4 players, and about 30 minutes.
In Lotus, players will take turns adding petals to flowers on the game board, and they want to complete the flowers in order to score points. You will play up to 2 cards and build flowers accordingly. You cannot have 2 of the same flower out on the board.
I really like this game because it's got different actions, right? You can take more cards in your deck, you can take from the display, you have your little, I think they're like your elder animals or something, I don't know the exact terminology, but you can add points with flowers, so you can gain dominance of that flower. I mean, you can collect the cards but not necessarily finish the flower. Like, I mean, there's so many options and it's so pretty. So the flowers, the colors, the points, I mean, how could you not love this game? I mean, it's amazing.
It's very zen. It's actually very zen.
Yeah.
It's competitive, but it's zen with its nice look.
It makes me happy.
You know. I love the card art. It's very colorful, very bright, very accessible. So.
Yeah, so really enjoyable, and I've taught this game a few times, and I'm sure you guys have done the same. Really easy to teach, really easy to catch on to, and it's pretty. That's what I say for everything, so you must have it. So I think that's definitely a good one to play at lunch. What do you guys think?
I think so. Very, very, very quick. Everyone can play it, so it's great.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Awesome. So that's it for today. See you next time. Bye.
Okay, folks, today I want to talk a little bit about house rules. Now, some game groups or people have house rules for specific games. Obviously, the biggest culprit of this is Monopoly. How many people do you know that play with if you land on free parking, you get all the money in the middle? But there's all sorts of different house rules to different games. Now, I think there's a few main reasons that people do house rules for games. One is because the game itself does not work very well, so they find some sort of house rule to make the game better. The second is either they found it online or someone else taught them some variant in which they think the game is more fun, just some way to make the game more interesting for them. And the third is just because it's always been done that way. This is why a lot of people play with house rules in Monopoly, for example, because that was the way they were taught, and many people don't even know the actual rules for Monopoly because there's so many house rules that have come through time that they just assume that that is an actual rule of the game. Now, I'm not actually opposed to people making up house rules for games, but I think you have to be careful when making house rules for games, and in a few ways. I mean, they're fine, but when someone new comes to your game group and they are coming and they are sitting down for the first time, they are not going to know this house rule. In fact, they are going to know the game, if they know it at all, from the rules as written in the book. And it can be very frustrating if, first of all, you're not up front with this house rule, and second, they may not find this house rule as much fun as you do. A common house rule that I do in Carcassonne, for example. In Carcassonne, you're laying tiles on the board, and I play that you draw your tile at the end of the turn rather than at the beginning of the turn, so you have a whole turn to think about it. And in fact, we usually play that you have 3 tiles in your hand, so you have more choices to pick from when placing your tiles. Well, some people really don't like that. They feel it drags the game down. They like the idea of drawing a tile and being surprised at the beginning of their turn. And so who wins in that situation? If someone new comes and they don't like the house rule, what do you do? Now, as a good host, I think you might say, okay, well, maybe we won't play with this house rule. I might argue a little bit more strongly if I think the game is broken without this fix, which I don't in the instance of Carcassonne. I do think the game takes longer if you don't add that rule, but it's not a huge deal. But at the same time, I mean, as if someone is new, it might be better to say, well, let's play it the way that you already know how to play it. Or at least, like I said, to make sure up front they know this is the house rule we play with. Perhaps you'd rather not play this game with us if you like or not like this house rule. And then that leads to the other problem with house rules. It's kind of an elitist thing. It's like, well, we play the obvious better way. This is the best way to play the game. You know, I find that happens a lot with Monopoly, for example, or the opposite, where you're elitist against people who use house rules. You're like, do you not know the rules for Monopoly? Have you not ever read them? Well, no. Most people don't like to read rules. They've been taught a game a certain way. Why would they expect that way has been different than the rules are said? And if you played a game 50 times one way, it can be kind of annoying when some board game comes in and says, excuse me, I'd like to point out that we have been playing this wrong the entire time. And this is actually, free parking does not do this. Actually, when you land on an auction, a place, and you don't buy it, it is auctioned off to everybody, and blah, 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 blah. And you just kind of come off a little smug when that happens. Now, I'm not saying that we shouldn't point these things out, but I think there's a proper way to do so. And I've gotten stories before where people will show up in groups and say, well, this is the best way to play a game. Let me show you my house rule. And the group plays it a certain way, or they already are playing with the house rule and someone comes in and says, dumb. And that's a really bad first impression. So I think it's on both parties for the new people who are coming in to say, oh yeah, you know, maybe I need to just see how this group plays, and for the new group to say, hey, we have some new person coming in, let's welcome her and show her the different house rules that are involved in this. And so half the things I talk about here on Tom Thinks is just like, be a nice person. You know, that's what this comes down to. I do not think, I think there's people who are different, right? I tend to say, why change the rules? Stick with the rules the way they're written. That's kind of my general philosophy. And so while I'll house rule a few things in games, I tend to not lean towards that. Someone will email me and go, you got to try it this way. And I'm like, I don't know, do I got to try it that way? And I have a natural inclination to be suspicious of house rules. Especially of that person, and this is a completely different topic, but that person who comes up with the house rule about 10 minutes into the game. They're like, oh, well, you know, I know that this designer put hundreds of hours into this, but this would be a much, much better rule. You know, like, let us finish this out first and see where this goes, because I think they'd probably put some effort into figuring it out, and they might have already considered that brilliant house rule that you just came up with. Anyway, those are my thoughts on house rules. What are yours? Tell me in the comments.
Hey friends, welcome back, Cyril's Brettspiele. My name is Niels, and today in the best and the worst we are talking about Kakao from Abacus Spiele. Yeah, again, I will tell you my favorite part on the Kakao and the thing I don't like so much on Kakao. Stay tuned and see you in a second. Today I'm starting with the worst part first, and the worst part on Kakao is when you open the box, you will see it immediately. This one here. Every time you carry around the game, it flies around. All the pieces flying around. There must be a cover, but these are coming up. Here is too much space. If you have an insert like this, where every single piece should be in a good position, great. I really like that. I really appreciate that. That is great, but this is not well done. Sorry, guys. Now let's switch over to my favorite part. My favorite part on Kakao is as simple as it is. It is so fast, it is so intuitive. You placing your tile, you take the action from the meeples, pointing out to the thing. So here, grow a cacao, sell a cacao, and that's it. Later in the game, probably when you place this one, you get a new tile and put it here from the open market, sorry. So you pick one of these two tiles and place it here. That's it. And now another part that I really like on it comes into play. These, even if you don't use that in a previous round, if a tile comes later here, later in the game, on an opponent's turn or whenever, you are taking your action. So each single meeple will exactly take one action per game. Thanks for watching. This was my favorite part from Kakao Abacus Spiele. My name is Niels Brettspiele, and see you next week here live on the Board Game Breakfast from the Dice Tower. Bye bye.
Hello, my name's Dan and this is Cora, and we're here today to talk to you about board games for children of around 5 and under. And today we're here to talk to you about this game. What's it called, Cora? Flutterby. It's called Flutterby. In Flutterby, you play a butterfly hunter, running around and trying to find specific specimens in a meadow teeming with dozens of different species. Each player gets a little square cardboard map, which has 8 different triangular flaps on it. Each round, a card is drawn from the deck showing a butterfly, and the players race to find a particular mixture of flaps you need to flip and combine in order to reveal it. If you're the first to find the butterfly, you win the card. Then another card is drawn and you start again. The winner of the game is the first person to win 5 cards, or however many cards you decide upon at the start, if you want a longer or a shorter game. So what do you think of this game, Cora?
I like it.
Yeah?
Because sometimes it's really, really easy.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's really, really hard.
So yeah, sometimes it is really easy, but most of the time, to be honest, it's really hard.
Yeah.
This is kind of on the cusp of what Cora can deal with, really. And it's meant to be a race game, but we never play it as a race game because, to be honest,
I'm only 4.
She's only 4. That's exactly why we don't play it as a race game. But it's a really quite interesting puzzle, and it's a kind of puzzle I've never really seen before. I really like the origami-ness of it. So overall, I'd give it one and a half thumbs up, I think. What about you, Cora? 1.5 thumbs up.
Okay, it's time to take a look at some more games on the shelves. So I've kind of have these spread out a little bit. Here we have, this here is called Dice Tower Speed. It's a super fast modem that keeps us going, and this is one of our Sonos speakers. But we had some games here. We have Sorry Sliders. This is one that my kids really enjoy playing. It's kind of a poor man's sliding game, almost a flicking game. A lot of fun. Star Wars Queen's Gambit. This is a game that makes people annoyed that I have it because it's so rare. It will probably never come back in print because of the intellectual property, but it is a great, beautiful production, 2-player game that recreates Star Wars Episode 1, all the battlefields at one time. It's really neat. And then down here, I have Scoundrels of Skullport. That's the expansion box for the Lords of Waterdeep. Everything is inside here, Lords of Waterdeep, all the stuff that's in there. That is a great worker placement game. Over here, we have Ice Cool. This is a great new, another flicking game that is a lot of fun as you flick penguins around in a school. Mogul. This is an auction style game. Highly recommend it as you basically are bidding to take different stocks, and it's like a no thanks bidding. You throw a chip in, and if you run out of chips, you can't win, or you can like drop out of the bidding and take all the chips that were thrown in the stock. Dragon's Gold is a great negotiation game. Here I have a bunch of castle pieces for HeroScape. This is Quinamid, which is a really, really great abstract strategy game where you're trying to get 5 in a row. And then on top of it, these are not actual eggs. This is a game called Dancing Eggs. So, anyway. And then down below we have Takinoko, the huge version, and Reifenbright, a really great racing bicycle game. There you go. That's what's on the shelf this week.
Hi guys, it's the beginning of December, and that means that all over Germany Christmas markets pop up. They're very cozy and mostly people in small booths selling handcrafted things. Made out of wood, made out of metal, made out of glass, but mostly the Christmas markets are about food and drinks. The typical German things like Reibekuchen, Bratwurst, Feuerzangenbowle is where they have a cone of sugar and they pour alcohol on it. It's great. Great. So this week, the game I am playing is all about sharing, but mostly about food. This week I am playing Piece of Cake. In Piece of Cake, you really learn how to share, because when it is your turn, you have this big cake made out of different toppings in front of you, and you need to divide it and then serve it up to the other players. So everyone gets to choose first, and you will be stuck with the leftovers. So you better make sure that the leftovers are good enough for you. In total, 5 cakes will be divided, and at the end of the game, you get points for having the majority in the different kinds of toppings. You can also choose to not collect the pieces, but instead eat them, and then you get points for the whipped cream that is on them. It is a fun game that gives depth to the question, do you want to divide or do you want to choose? It is a nice filler game. Piece of Cake. My name is Dave Luzan. Thanks for watching.
Okay, today we're taking a look at another one of the Stonemaier treasure chests. This is the Adventure Atlas. All right, sounds exciting. There's a lot of cool pieces in here. Now this one I like. These are shield tokens. Kind of a little bit of blood on the shield tokens. These are pretty neat. You can use these for different counters, poker chips I guess, but there are enough Viking games out there that will have pieces like that used in them, so I could see that being used there. Here we have like bed rolls, tents. This one I'm still trying to figure out a good game to use these, and I like them. They look really cool. I'm not quite sure. Even these weapons. Okay, so we got axes and butcher knives. These are metal. They're really neat pieces. I'm sure there's some sort of game where you can collect these weapons and use them. Maybe I can use these in Champions and Midgard or something. I haven't actually decided where to put all these pieces yet. Here in this one, we have, what exactly is it? Oh, it's a pile of cloth. Well, there's probably plenty of Euro games that need a pile of cloth and blankets. Here we have potions. Definitely there's games where I can use these for potions, whether they be health potions or something like that. And then scrolls, magic scrolls, there's definitely, I'll be able to find a use for these. Treasure chests, this will be the easiest thing in the whole set. These are really nice little treasure chests, whether you're using these in Jamaica or Descent or any game that uses a treasure chest, really great. And then little scrolls here. These, probably the #1 use for these, I would think, would be love letter. Maybe, to use these scrolls to get the letter to the princess. But I don't know, this is a cool set. It's not as inherently, immediately like, oh, I can use all this stuff in the game like the Arkham one was. But I'm sure I'll be able to find a use for most of this stuff. That is, once again, the Adventure Atlas from Stonemaier Games.
Oh no. Oh no. I've done something. I may have agreed to meet up with a board game meetup from Meetup. What if I don't like them? What if they don't like me? What if our game tastes are different? What if they're weird? What if they think I'm weird? Am I weird? Oh no, am I weird? No, you're not weird. Shh, you're great. Oh no. The last time I went to something social, I actually had a good time. Aircon 4 coming in March. Huh? Taste the rainbow. And last time it wasn't terrible. It was the opposite of terrible. It was not terrible, I guess. But that doesn't mean I'm not terrified. But I did have a realization, is that they're all there for the same reason I want to go, which is total domination. I am a little bit weird. They're all there to have fun playing board games, and if they didn't want other people to go, they wouldn't have advertised it, right? So I'm going to a meetup for the first time. Please leave me some advice in the comments below, you gorgeous bunch of scoundrels.
Hey folks, November was an amazing month, and I want to thank you guys for watching our show. November we had over 3 2.1 million downloads. It's the first time we broke 3 million downloads or views of our videos in 1 month, which was just amazing. That's really cool, and we want to thank you guys for that. I used to dream about the days where we would break 500,000 in a month. And also one of our audio shows, the Dice Tower audio shows, had over 60,000 downloads, which again is huge. And I know compared to the big channels and things that's just small potatoes to them. But for me, it's like, wow, people actually like to watch board game reviews, even done with as bad of a host as myself. So I appreciate that, and I hope you guys continue to watch. Don't unsubscribe from our channel when a lot of stuff doesn't show up this week. We will be back with a vengeance next week. Some of you I will see on the Dice Tower Cruise, so that's exciting. Some of you can't make it, no problem. We're doing another one next year, or I'll meet you somewhere else, or at least I will see you each week on videos. Board Game Breakfast coming out next Tuesday. Until then, I'm Tom Vassell, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.
Thanks for watching Board Game Breakfast. Tune in each week for your daily dose of gaming goodness with Tom Vassell and all the gang. Until next time, I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching Board Game Breakfast, a Dice Tower production, sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., an amazing place to buy board games. Cool stuff in stock at coolstuffinc.com.